Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
And how the heck is everybody tonight? It is May 26, 2020, and this is Clever Title Pending for Tuesday night. Hope you're all having a good time so far. We've only been doing this for almost 2 minutes, haven't made any major mistakes, so we're going to move on fully confident. And one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is an offshoot of confidence, or rather maybe a lack of it. A number of people in the creative field suffer from what is called imposter syndrome, and it may be something you've heard of or something you haven't heard of, but tonight's the night to find out all about it, how it affects many of us, note the pronoun, and we've got a fantastic panel of people who are here who know everything about the subject and are experts and can probably cure everything that's wrong with us, I'm sure. Anyway, we are joined by some wonderful people tonight, and we'll let everyone, starting with Meredith, and then we'll go clockwise around the room, and we will you can all introduce yourselves and tell everybody how darned wonderful you are, and then we'll explore the topic of imposter syndrome. So we'll start with Meredith. Or Karl. I thought it was Meredith. I hit the first one. Sorry. Okay. Well, I was doing so well, too. So here is Karl after his gender reassignment. And anyway, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Karl. No. Hi, everybody. I'm Meredith Loughran. I am with... Way to start this show, Brian. Thanks a lot. I am Meredith Loughran, and I am not worthy. I love this subject of imposter syndrome. I am with Geek Insider and Wild One Forever. I have a couple of podcasts that I do, and you guys can follow me on meredithloughran.com. I know you probably don't know how to spell the name. That's all right. It's okay. But if you can find me, that'd be great. All my social media is there, and I'm going to pass it off to Karl.
Sure, let's get to Karl. Karl, how are you tonight?
Hi, how are you? I'm Karl Witsman. I've been a writer forever, and or at least since I was a small kid. And for a while, a long while, I was a counselor. And then now that I'm retired, I can be a writer again, full time.
Excellent. And now the one, the only, Mr. Luke Stone.
Hello, my name is Luke Stone. I am a writer and an artist. I do all of the words and the pictures for this book here called Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, and I do pictures for some other books too. And I've been doing comics for, seriously, for about 5 years. And I've been drawing for quite a bit longer than that. And you can find me at lukestonestudios.com.
Excellent. All right. And I'm obviously Brian K. Morris, the person running the board, so you know who to send the hate mail to. Rising Tide Publications. Go to risingtide.pub for a list of all of our works, and you can sign up for our brand new newsletter, which you'll see scrolling across the bottom, because it is all about me. In which I'm overcompensating for tonight's subject. But anyway, we hope that you, the audience, will have some questions for us, because this is, for all the fun we're having here, this is kind of a serious subject, because this is something that I think most of my creative friends have to one degree or another. And of course, we've got a lot of people coming in, and we'll be able to say hello to everybody, but we will share some of your comments. And of course, Aaron Casey says, oh man, I definitely feel called out with that topic. I'm sure you won't be the only one tonight, Aaron, I'm positive of that. So anyway, let's start with it. How would you define imposter syndrome? Who wants to take that first? And how does it relate to you in your craft? I'll call on somebody.
Not all at once, guys, right?
Yeah, really.
I know. We were just talking about the guest from hell. I'll go first.
We'll go ladies first.
Yes.
So I'll go first. So
Okay.
it's when you feel like a fraud. And I think when you are working really hard at something and you have some modicum of success and you're starting to hear the feedback from people, I think that's really hard for a lot of people to take that success and just accept it for what it is and acknowledge that they did the hard work. Because and maybe this is something that we can touch on a little bit later, but when I've spoken to people and asked them, what are you more afraid of, failure or success? Almost all the time they say success, which I thought was really weird. So for me, when I'm not confident, even though I'm working really hard at it and I hear compliments and things like that, I feel like a fraud. I feel like, wait a minute, I'm not ready to be there. I'm not ready to be on maybe that pedestal or taking that step into the next level. And maybe I am, maybe I'm not. It's a comfort thing. And sometimes you just need that push or, the shove off of the ledge to either, you're going to sink or fly at that point. And so I do deal with a certain amount of that. Not so much anymore. I don't know. I think I hit like 45 and then I stopped caring, but that comes with age too. So, so there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, I don't want to take up the entire time. I'll pass it off to somebody else, but for me, it's feeling like I might not be worthy of the praise and the acknowledgement for the hard work that I've done, even though I've done it, so it's really all in my head.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Karl, what about you? How would you define it, and how does it relate to your writing? And you're also a broadcaster too.
For me, I've overcome a lot of it. But in earlier days, I had it and I felt like I was a child amongst adults. That's the closest thing I can come to describing it. Like everybody else had it all together. They were mature. Why wasn't I? Why don't I have whatever they had?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the personal side of it. Okay.
Right. That's pretty profound. I like that. And how about you, Luke? How would you define it, and how does it relate to you being a comic book creator?
Well, I like to define things the way kind of like science or stuff would. So I'm going to go to the most reputable source that I can, Wikipedia.
Of course.
And if you look up imposter syndrome and you find the Wikipedia entry for that, it's going to say this: imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon, imposterism, fraud syndrome, or the imposter experience, is a psychological pattern in which one doubts one's accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite external evidence of their competence, those experiencing this phenomenon remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve all they have achieved. Individuals with imposterism incorrectly attribute their success to luck or interpret it as a result of deceiving others into thinking they are more intelligent than they perceive themselves to be. While early research focused on the prevalence among high-achieving women, imposter syndrome has been recognized to affect both men and women equally. And so having said that, here's the problem with imposter syndrome. You don't know you have imposter syndrome because you fully believe that you are not the competent or capable person that people think you are. And so you attribute it to luck or like, oh, wait till they find me out. But there's always that pressure that I've got to up my game. I've got to do more. So like in the world of comic books, it may not be that I'm intelligent, but that I'm a competent creator or a good writer or a decent a decent artist or things like that, that my skills within comics and the number of readers or fans that I have, the recognition that I get, that it's all a matter of luck or somebody else's hard work, that has helped me out or things like that. So I actually didn't know I had imposter syndrome till someone told me I had imposter syndrome recently. And so I'm still kind of wondering, is it imposter syndrome, or am I just a really lucky guy who catches a lot of good breaks? And so there's that there. So I think that, the problem with imposter syndrome is it's really hard to identify that you've actually got it. Because even if you do say, okay, well, I am competent at this and I have earned the rewards that I'm receiving, there's still that part of you that says, well, but maybe I'm just a really lucky person, and eventually it's all going to dry up and go away. And so you just kind of always assume that no matter how much hard work you do, you're just one bad project away, or you're just one bad day away from someone realizing that, you know what, you don't really know half of what you think you do, or that what people think that you do, and you're just a fake, a fraud, and a phony.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, like I said, I've got it too. It was a couple of years into being a full-time writer that I finally realized that I had it, and I kind of wrote it off as almost like a self-deprecating humor, kind of a false modesty kind of thing. And then I discovered the term also and realized that, OMG, all they need is my picture beside it in the dictionary. So, that's when I realized I had it. But what about the rest of you? Can you remember the first time, like in Luke's case, for instance, and you can amplify this because I'll go to you first, Luke. When did you realize that you had this specific, I don't want to call it a disorder, because it almost makes it sound more serious than it is, although to us it is serious. When did you realize that you had it, and what was your reaction when you learned this? Luke, let's start with you, because you kind of started on that.
Yeah, it was pointed out to me about 2 months ago, actually, that because I kind of played. So it's really hard because it's even hard to talk about it, because you feel like, I don't want to say something that's out of turn about even my my talent or my ability to create or things like that. And maybe part of that is, a sense of modesty. You want to stay modest about it and humble about it. But it was brought to my attention during the Kickstarter. Someone was like, and in fact, just recently someone said, it's kind of like watching the training wheels get taken off. You realize that you had something more than what you even realized. The other people around me saw the work that I was doing, and that it had a higher value. It started when I told someone my page rates a few months ago. I was like, well, this is how much I charge per page to do pencils and inks, and they go, dude, you're way underselling yourself. Like you're worth at least this. And I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. I'll raise my prices then. So, but it's like, and then when it's like, oh, well, I hope to make this much and have this many backers for this campaign. And they're like, dude, it's way better than what you think it is. You're at least going to get this. And when they said that, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, right. Let's hope. Let's do the hard work, see if we can get there. But when those numbers started to surpass and things like that, I started realizing that some of those people that were near and dear to me, that had kind of came into my circle, that when they were telling me this stuff, they were being honest with me. And so I recently realized that maybe I'm not an imposter. Maybe I just feel like I am.
I can see that. I can see that.
Can I just speak to?
Please.
Can I just speak to something about that? I mean,
Certainly.
there is such thing as a false modesty, and that is if you actually think that you are better, but you don't want to let the world know that, because you don't want to look like you're a jerk or something like that, because, you're puffing yourself up and things like that. So, but in Luke's case, in that example, I don't know that would be imposter syndrome, because in certain situations, maybe not having a higher rate or anything. Maybe it's because you just didn't know what you didn't know, and then you adjust accordingly. So it's not like that in inferior sense of, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be charging that much. My work isn't that good. Your work is good and it's quality.
Well,
And
trust me, I still don't think I should be charging
level,
that much.
I'll talk to you, and I'll talk to you about that when we work together. I promise.
Yeah. They're like, someone's like, when I tell the rate, I'm like, I
okay,
know
so
a little high.
What's your imposter rate?
Yeah.
I'll take your imposter rate for $5, please.
I feel like that might be appropriate. That's probably an appropriate rate for the work I'm doing. So yeah, let's $5 seems fair.
Yeah, I think it's that sense of self. It's just like if we're really puffing ourselves up to be more than what we are, maybe in the hopes of showing other people that we are better than we are, then there's that fear of being caught, and I think that's probably where imposter syndrome comes from too.
Okay. Karl, I saw you nodding your head, so please.
Well, that could be part of it, Meredith. But I think instead of calling it a syndrome, and Luke read it out there, they're now calling it imposter phenomenon, because syndrome denotes like some sort of symptoms, like a disease. And if this were a disease, it would have killed most of us, because about 70% of all people have imposter syndrome at some time in their lives. And it's even higher for creative people. And the theory of that is that in nuclear physics, in building a bridge, there are right answers to things. The reactor will blow up or the bridge will fall down if you do it wrong. But in creative fields, there really is no right and wrong. And, you can craft a story this way or that way. You can go either way. And because of that, creative people have even higher imposter syndrome. And it's especially bad amongst creative women, sadly. And the reason why it was first thought, as Luke was reading there, that it was mostly women was because there were two women that started studying it because they found it in themselves. And they started studying in about 1978, 1979. And then they found, oh, no, it's not just us. There's more and more people that have this phenomenon. And it's been kind of scary for them.
Well, there is a big problem with the whole thing. Basically, what it does, it makes you feel like you don't belong in the conversation. You don't deserve to be in that room with the conversation. And so sitting here, even it's like, why am I a part of this conversation? What have I achieved that's worth saying that I'm competent at what I'm doing? Maybe I'm just not that good. And to present myself as being a professional is difficult because it's like. How do you so even being a part of that conversation, being in the room, like doing a panel, when someone asks me to do a panel, when someone asks my advice, when they want to come watch the show, when they want a signature on a book, I'm like, you really want my autograph? Like, really? Is that seriously? You want that? Like, I mean, you don't want you're okay if I ruin the book for you? I mean, like, I scribble on it. I don't know. It's like, it's that feeling that, and for a long time, it does affect women a lot more because we live in a patriarchal society, and there's been women who are extremely competent at doing what they do, and they're more than competent in many cases. They excel above many men in the field, and because they lack the same anatomy as a man, they don't feel like they belong as part of the conversation, because we have had a society for many years that said that you don't belong in those places. That's a man's world. And thankfully, we've changed all of that. But I think we're starting to realize that a chromosome might separate our genders, but there's still a lot emotionally and mentally that we go through that we share, and it may affect one gender more than the other, which is very, very true that it probably does. But I think it's the thing about the imposter phenomenon is that a lot of people go through it at varying degrees too. And it's not just in creativity. I pastor full time. That's what I do. I'm a pastor of a church, and I feel it at church. I feel it in the ministry world. Like when I'm, it's you kind of get in that sense and you're passionate. It's like, man, I just don't know if like I kind of feel like a fraud today. I might have a bad day emotionally or mentally or spiritually. And I'm like, and people are looking to you to be kind of the point or the lead, or they're looking at you as an example. And you can feel that in every aspect or any career path or any area of your life. And so it's difficult. If you have that, you're going to feel in everything you do. If you're working at 7-Eleven, you're going to feel like you're an imposter there. If you get any kind of accolades whatsoever, you're just like, I don't really deserve that. I don't really deserve that. You're always going to feel like you don't deserve what you get.
Yeah. Well, like I told a story the other morning on Never Mind the Furthermore that I was doing a convention in Harrisburg, Illinois, which is a very, very small community in the southern end of Illinois. And Amy Hale and Kathy Jackson and I were doing a panel on writing and how to get published and all. And it turned out, at one point, we kept getting all these great questions. And this one person in particular who had been giving like a lot of questions looked at us and said, "I'm sorry, but we don't get many celebrities here." And Amy and Kathy and I were like, yeah. It was like, it must be talking about you two. And, Amy's like, "No, it's you and Kathy." And Kathy's like, "No, it's you and Amy." So it's like, it is pervasive in all of us. And I'm going to run through some of the comments we're getting. And I think we got a couple questions for the panel. Russell Allen is not an imposter. # OG pantsless. That's right. We're wearing the Emperor's clothing too some days. And behave, Karl. And anyway, and Amy Hale and a whole bunch of really cool people showing up. A lot of people. I wish I could say hello to everyone, but we're going to run through and try to get your questions about this answered. And let's see. Aaron Casey, a friend of mine from Iowa, says, "Awesome art, Luke."
Thank you.
There we go. That's the proper answer. And we're one step closer to a cure, but only if you help. And nice hat, Luke. Got mine in the mail today.
We're hat buddies now.
There we go. And that's deep, folks. That's deep.
Are we best friends now?
You are. Yeah, you are BHFs now, best hat friends forever. So it's a touching moment here on Clever Title Pending. And Cindy Kemp says, "I only have imposter syndrome on days of the week ending in day." Yeah, I think we all feel that. Rick Bradley, what is one instance where your imposter syndrome kept you from doing something that would have been a great opportunity? Oh, I see. I give everyone. Yeah, or is this a case of which one?
Yeah,
There is that.
Isolate an incident. I might start with a time that I was very young and my first writing experience, and I was not sure writing for a school newspaper that I would be accepted, so I wrote under a pseudonym. And once it was accepted and everyone thought it was hilarious, then I finally let people know who it was that was behind it. But I kind of thought, I don't know if I'm good enough, so I'm going to hide a little bit. And I probably could have gotten a lot more kudos if I had just come out and written it under my name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Meredith or Luke, do you have a instance narrowed down here?
Honestly, I have got files and files of stories and books that I haven't released because as a writer, they're all my children and they're all, from the voices in my head. And so putting them down on paper and then releasing it into the public is a very scary thing. And being my own worst critic, it's never any good. It's not good enough. And there's always room for improvement. The problem is by doing that, I've also edited them to death and I don't want to look at them anymore. So in a way, it's kind of, you guys all know that. I know, Brian, you're laughing about that, but I mean, it's one of those things where yeah, I've got to put them back in the drawer and let them collect dust and let them start talking to me again, because now I'm at the point where I think I found the cure for this imposter syndrome or phenomenon, whatever you want to call it. But that's really stopped me from publishing, whether it's pursuing agents, whether it's submitting my work, just to an editor or anything like that. It stopped me from doing that because I'm always telling myself it's not good enough, and I have to at some point cut the umbilical cord and say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to let it go out and see what happens.
All right.
It's
Luke,
funny.
how about you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karl. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Luke. Meredith, it's fortuitous that you mentioned that, because perfectionism is one of the symptoms, and one of the biggest symptoms that people have shown is, okay, I don't want anybody to find anything wrong with what I've done, because then they will find me out, and the guy with the clipboard will come in and say, wrong person, out, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
That's true. Luke?
Just to kind of echo on that, I have a couple things to say there, but I kind of want to echo on what on what was just said there. There are actually, like, if you do research, I wanted to research the topic a little bit before I came in tonight. I like to have a little bit of understanding about what I'm going to say and not necessarily go off the cuff with things like this. But there's actually 5 different types of imposter syndrome. So you may actually, or phenomenon that you might have and you might not even realize it. The first one is the perfectionist, and that is exactly what Meredith has described. The other one is the Superman or Superwoman thing, and it's kind of that people kind of look to you like you kind of have this, like you're Johnny on the spot or Jenny on the spot, or I don't know what you would say. But you're kind of like that person that's like they're the Superwoman or the Superman type thing, like, oh, they're Wonder Woman, they can do anything, and you're thinking underneath the surface, like, just I hope, I just feel like I'm always about to fail, and that their confidence in me is not warranted. One of the other types is the natural genius. You just kind of feel like things need to just come easy to me, or else I'm a failure. And so those people that if they struggle at something, it just eats them up because they feel like an imposter if they can't just naturally get it. The fourth is the soloist, and I fall into this one a lot. It's where you just feel like you have to do it yourself because you're not good enough to work with anyone else. It's not that you don't want the help or that you don't want to work with a team. You just don't feel like you're adequate enough to work with a team. And so no one will want to do that. And then number 5 is the expert. Like, you have to be the expert. And so even in a little sense, my study for tonight was part of my imposter phenomenon, because I wanted to have some knowledge and some wisdom on the thing. So I did some research. But the people that have to be an expert on everything, that's a form of imposter syndrome. But so I tend to follow into the soloist quite a bit. And in order to really gauge on how many opportunities, Rick, that I've missed out on, it would be impossible, because every time a feed comes across or an ad comes across that's looking for an artist or collaborator, and I look at the name of the person asking, and if I deem that I'm just not good enough to work with that person, I don't. And that's been 10 years of me doing that. 5 years of me doing that seriously for comics, but 10 years in general. And so it will make me lose out on a lot of those opportunities. And right now I have a kind of like a career thing where I'm getting encouragement to step out and to do something new and bold. And I feel like an imposter. I'm like, these people are putting a great deal of confidence in me and my personality in order to be able to do this. And I'm like, man, you feel like, because you just don't want to let people down in that. And so even in that, because you just don't feel like you're adequate or you're good enough or you've got the skills or even the name recognition well enough to do something like that, it will keep you from taking those steps. In anything that you're going to do in your career, in any sense, I'm not just talking about art, but I'm talking in every sense, it requires some leap of faith, and it requires some gamble. You have to leave a safe space and step out into something new that's uncharted for you anyway. And that that phenomenon will keep you from doing that. And it may prolong your success for a number of years, well beyond where you can even realize it.
Yeah, and I'd like to, amplify on a couple things you said, Luke, because when I got into the full-time writing thing, I would see people crossing my feed that I'd become their friend and all, and it was like, we've got this writing opportunity. Who's interested? I've got this writing opportunity, and I held off for the longest time because by the same token, I was like seeing these people who had real reputations, and I felt like such a noob because, despite my advanced age, I'd only really gotten really 100% serious about publishing and writing in the last several. And finally, I just had to step outside myself and finally queried one of my friends who was putting together an anthology. And since then, I've sold, like 100 or so books of that book because, I finally stepped out. But I understand also the thing about the Superman, and not just because I'm a big fan of him, but recently with my broadcasting, where I had to take a step back because I wasn't getting my other work done and I felt like I was letting other people down. And there was a certain amount of like, the minute I stopped doing this, everybody's going to run away like roaches in the kitchen, that people are, that I didn't know that people had so much faith in me to do what was right for me. And when I made the announcement last week that I was going to like drop drop some of my shows, so I could get other work done, I refused to look at the comments because I was sure that it'd be filled like, you idiot, you moron, how could you do this to us, sort of thing. And everybody was 120% positive and like, you got to do what you got to do, which, is one of those things where I think that, we've talked about coping with this syndrome or whatever, or this phenomena that, even then that reaction I got was like, this can't be, this does not match with my self-image still, even though I have to remind myself I have gotten stuff done. I do know cool people, you three, for instance, that gets me, that buys me a lot of dinners, you know what I'm saying?
You definitely asked that question. It's like people are okay with me not being on the air so that I can create stuff for them to read and ingest,
right?
Which means that they must like the stuff that I create. So that can't be. Right?
Exactly. It's like you're hearing my inner monologue, Luke. So, I get. Oh, that's so true. Now we have a great question from Aaron Casey, another author. Has imposter syndrome ever blocked? Bless you. Has imposter syndrome ever blocked you from writing? Has it made you give up a project? If you're an indie author, do you feel like more of a fraud because it's not traditionally published?
Yes.
Karl, you want to take? Oh, okay. Well, Luke's spoke first.
Go for it, Luke.
The answer is yes, absolutely. I actually started writing first for hybrids because I just needed to. But for the most part, with every project that I work on, I find someone who is an actual writer. And I've got 5 books under my belt, 6, 7 stories. And I'm like, an actual writer. I need to find someone that's an actual writer to do that job for me. So yes, I've turned down stuff. I've got stuff that I've written that I haven't put out because I'm like, no one's going to like this, or they're, or I've dropped things. And because I'm not on a traditional publisher and I work with a group of kind of small people in the industry, good people in the industry, great people. But yeah, there's times it's like, well, I'm doing well because, this is just this, it's just this small thing over here. But, would I really be able to match up with these people? Do I need to be, if I ever got distributed in Diamond, I don't know how I'd feel about that, So all these different things, that's like, well, it's okay. But yeah, so the answer is a big fat yes to all those.
Okay, cool. Who wants to take the next phase? Who wants to take on that question next? Okay, Karl has been voluntold that he is going to take it. So,
when I first started self-publishing, that was back in the 80s. Technology was not what it is today, and there were no print-on-demands. So you pretty much had to do everything locally if you wanted to. And I thought, okay, here I've taken this manuscript down. I've formatted it myself. told the printer how I want it done and would do it that way. And then I'd go to sell it and I'd feel a little bit of a twinge of, this isn't a real book. You know, it wasn't published. I self-published it. And I had to talk to myself about how Edgar Allan Poe published a lot of his own work. You know, many other writers published their own first works. So that took the sting out of it a little bit. And I was able to rationalize that to myself.
Okay, cool. Meredith, how about you?
Yeah, I said it earlier when I've got files and files of unfinished manuscripts because I haven't had the strength or the wherewithal to open them up again, because in my head I'm just going, they're crap, that's why they're there. But you know, the thing is, okay, so like going back to the soloist, the expert, you know, the Superman thing, as far as the different tiers of this imposter thing, I'm looking at my comic book journey here, and there's a part of me that says, okay, I don't mind sharing the journey. I don't mind saying, you know what, I don't know crap about crap, and I'm just going along. I'm taking my notes. I'm going to do my homework and stuff like that. But then there's a part of me that says maybe my story isn't good enough. Maybe I don't want to share that with an editor. Maybe I don't want somebody to script that out for me because I don't know. I mean, is that going to look good on paper? Like what I see in my head might not translate all that well. And I have to tell myself pretty much every day when I'm thinking about this project, not so much the podcast, but this goal that I have to create the comic book within a year, I think I probably need somebody that is kind of a buddy who will hold me accountable, who will say, it's not shit, Mare, it's okay. and just to get it done. And I have to kind of put it in my head that if this is the first time out, it's probably going to be junk. And I have to be okay with that, you know, and think of it more as the journey and actually finishing the project. So I deal with that pretty much every day with the different aspects. And the more I'm learning, the more I'm going, holy shit, I'm a real idiot for even starting this thing. I'm like, who the heck am I? And why did I agree to this? I am such an idiot, you know, like, you fool. So yeah, I feel that every single day, trust me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You guys are laughing, but it's true.
with sympathy. It's like you're in my brain, and you should probably get out, Meredith, or at least wipe your feet. Anyway, we have a question from Cindy, the great Cindy Kep. Here's a question for you: how do you balance imposter syndrome and hubris/arrogance? And I'll give you guys time to think about this, because I recognize that of all of us, I'm the one wearing primary colors, long sideburns, and a fez. So part of mine, I do have kind of a Carney Barker kind of attitude when I do things. And I talk frequently about me, but not me, who is the person who's selling all this stuff, or sometimes is on the air dressed like I do. And the thing that keeps me from venturing into arrogance is the fact that I do have this imposter syndrome that keeps me, if nothing else, the one positive aspect of it, it keeps me grounded. You know, yes, I have accomplishments. Yeah, I've got a resume. I've got a pretty darn good resume. I have people that want me to work with them, and that thrills me to my core. I could easily go off the deep end. Yeah, I am all that. I am truly all that. But fortunately, my own imposter syndrome puts that little tone in that reminds everybody that I don't quite believe it when I say it. So I think that's what keeps me from being a complete a-hole about it. Just only a partial a-hole. What about the rest of you? How do you? Is this a balance that you feel you have to kind of balance out between, how you feel about yourself, as unwarranted as it is, versus how you have to promote yourself and your work? Karl?
The idea about hubris and arrogance, and I think you were on another show at one time, you were talking, and someone had talked about people who just come in there and they're like, buy my stuff, I'm so great, and all this stuff. Many times those type of people who are arrogant about it have very low opinion of themselves. I mean, it's not just imposter syndrome, it's a low self-esteem. Yeah. They try to cover it up with a bullying type of personality, and that is how that comes out. So you think, wow, this guy's, too much. Well, inside he's feeling very small and unworthy, but it's not just the imposter phenomenon. It's something much more deep-seated than that. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that most people who overcome imposter syndrome are going to be arrogant or display a lot of hubris. You just are proud of your own accomplishments.
Very good. Very good. Luke, Meredith, do you have something to add?
Sure. The imposter phenomenon puts you in a frame of mind to where you recognize what greatness is, and you recognize the traits of greatness. And you realize that greatness doesn't have to tell people they're great. People recognize greatness without that. And so anyone who truly suffers from this, like, I don't belong in the room kind of phenomenon, no matter what their accomplishments tell the world, they're never going to be the, in my opinion, the arrogant person. They're always going to be the one that that is the kind of the quiet, the quiet in the room. Now there are some. There might be some imposters that are out there, but I don't think that that's the imposter syndrome or the imposter phenomenon. I think those are just actual imposters. They know they're not. They know that they don't have it. Because anyone who really truly thinks, and so what happens in my head is I'm like, I want to work hard at everything I do so that I can, while I have a seat at that particular table, I can prove that I belong at that table. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even with the book I'm working on right now with Travis Gibb, as I'm looking and he's talking about what we might do with this and take it here or whatever, I'm just like, every panel, I'm like, I've just got to work hard and prove that I belong as part of this project, and I belong to have my work presented to some of these people, and that I that the audience will, that what I'm showing and what I present is approved by the people that want it, a value for them. I want to do my best for them, and so it just drives every page written, every page drawn, every panel, every line, every business move, every show, everything. It's that. It's like, let me do the absolute best I can, because I'm at this. I don't want to be the kid at the table. They realize, like, you know what? Shut up and let the adults talk. I want to be able to contribute, and because I feel like I don't have anything to contribute, it makes me want to work harder so that I can every time those opportunities come up. And so I think that's the thing where if you really have the imposter syndrome, you're not going to be that arrogant. You're not going to have like all of that about you. You're not going to be that big personality in the room that says, hey, look at me, how great I am. I'm a big personality in the room just because I'm a big person, and I like, I like to have fun and I'm loud, but it has nothing to do with my accomplishments,
Yeah, I mean, for me, full disclosure, I don't know if you guys know this, but I was assessed with Asperger's in my 30s. So I have the ability to compartmentalize a lot of things. And there are certain aspects where I am quite arrogant because I know I'm good at certain things, but I keep that in my indoor mind voice. Okay. I don't share that with people because that's my superpower. Having said that, there are other places, a lot of other places where I'm not nearly as confident or as skilled. And, when you have that feeling of being awkward and unbalanced almost all the time, finding that balance is really hard. And so I try to lean more towards the things that I'm really good at and I know that I'm good at. And I don't need anybody to affirm whether I am or not, because I've reached that point of self-actualization maybe in that aspect or that area of my life. And so everything else needs a lift, whether it's, somebody helping me up and things like that. So I'm not going to deny that I am arrogant in certain areas, but again, I try to keep that because I ultimately am a humble person. I like to stay grounded because I've been knocked down, whether I deserved it or not, several times, and it does keep me humble. But at the same time, if I know that I'm okay with certain things, then I have the ability to look out and see who else needs help. And by doing that, I think by being the helper or the one who's pushing someone else up, that helps with the imposter syndrome. Because then, rather than getting the compliment, which may or may not be deserved, I'm getting a thank you for helping them. And I think that, in a way, is how I cope with that.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Karl, you had your hand up.
Meredith hit on one of the suggested ways of overcoming this. And that is, list out for yourself what you feel competent. These are things I can do well. And then list out, these are things that I need work on. And so that will help you to feel better about that, but it'll also help you when someone says something about something. Oh, okay, I don't know that much about that. Mm-hmm. You can say, okay, I'm okay with that. If you say something about something I feel really confident about, then we'll have a talk. and doing that helps you, and the same person, I believe, suggested writing out. She writes out every year what she does right and what she does wrong. Mm-hmm. So that at the end of the year, she doesn't go, oh, well, that was a wasted year. It was horrible. I failed so many times. And if she looks down at her notes, no, I did not fail that many times. And I had success during that year. Mm-hmm. So you've hit upon one of the ways of overcoming the whole thing.
Yeah, I will add about the success thing. It's having measurable things that mark your success, and it's celebrating those things. If you have a success, don't mar it with but, because that's another problem with that mindset, is that there's always that but. Like, I know that I'm very good at organizing and leading a team. I'm really good at looking at all the pieces of the puzzle and putting them together and like whipping up a machine. Like if I were like the Legos movie Master Builder, I know that I'm like really good at finding people's strengths and putting them together on a focused target and a task and making it I'm good at that. I've always been good at that, and I got paid really good to do that for retail stores. And so that's one thing that I know that I'm really good at. And so in the process, I would deal with a lot of people that also had this kind of same thing. I was like, hey, don't feel bad. I also feel like I'm just a failure waiting to happen. But here's the thing. Let's find what the successes are and celebrate those. And don't be like, yeah, it's a success, but so-and-so did better. Yeah. Don't compare yourself to someone else. You're on your own journey. You're only competing with yourself. You're not competing with somebody else. But so find those little things, and no matter how little they are, if it is a success, celebrate it.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on that and just say, don't apologize for the things that you're good at, but don't sit there and wade water, because the thing that you're good at right now, if you don't stay sharp, if you don't continue with the learning process, then eventually you will get into the area of arrogance because, the world has moved on. So celebrate it. Don't apologize for it, but always keep going, to be better.
Right. Very good.
Some wise man once said, never apologize for being awesome.
Hey.
I'm stealing that. Who would say a thing like that?
Brian?
Who would say that?
I'm smarter than I thought. Anyway.
He apologizes for being awesome.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
I just never apologize.
Yeah, I have I have many a time when I probably should apologize for not, but not for that.
I'm sorry. I never apologize. I'm sorry. I never apologize.
Well, we'll get an apology out of you yet, Luke Stone. You just wait.
I'm sorry. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. You're never going to get an apology out of me.
Well, leaving the resolute Luke Stone where he is now, unapologetically so. Let's catch up with some of your comments here. Russell Allen said, "Dang, I thought imposter syndrome was when I make posts for my wife's phone on her Facebook." That was a good line. Had to get that in.
That's called catfishing.
Exactly. That's why Cookie hides her phone when I'm around. Because I will. One time I was directing a show for a theater group, and they were all texting while they were supposed to be working. And I said, "Listen, half of you know me, the other half don't. If I catch anyone who is texting while they're supposed to be working, I'm going to take your phone and I'm going to talk to the people on the other line. Now, those who don't know me, talk to the people who do and ask them what I'm likely to say." Never had a bit of problem after that. Anyway, Dwight Decker, who is a darn good writer himself. Good to see you, Dwight. Neil Gaiman has a story about being at some gathering of people who had accomplished noteworthy things. Pardon me. And he fell into a conversation with someone who also had the same first name he did. To paraphrase from memory what the other Neil said, "Looking around at all these people who've really done things, I'm not even sure why I'm even here. I just went where they sent me." Now, if Neil Armstrong felt that way,
wow.
Yeah, is that powerful or what? Thank you, Dwight Decker. And here we go. Rick Bradley says, I will give compliments a lot, and I do mean them, but do you feel like you might compliment people more and mean them if you have imposter syndrome? That is an excellent, excellent question. Who wants that one? I would say yes. I would say I'm probably more prone to myself. I'm more prone to give compliments because I've also... And going back to a bad self-image, I grew up with a horrible self-image. And, I never got compliments from like my father, for instance. And so I am very good. I try to be good, if not effusively so, about giving compliments to people. I try not to give them unwarranted compliments, but when I am grateful, I leave no doubt as to the extent of my gratitude. Hi, Meredith. I love you. Anyway, how about the rest of you? Do you feel like you apologize more often because you have this phenomena?
No, I don't give more compliments because I feel like I'm an imposter most of the time. Like, I'm not quite good enough. So I don't placate people. Like, I'll give them a compliment based on whether or not they've grown in their own personal life. Like, are you better today than you were yesterday? I will acknowledge that and celebrate that with you. But I don't want to create these William Hungs out there in the world who think that they can sing, and then they get up on national television and they sing She Bangs like a fool. I don't want to do that to people, and I don't feel like that's warranted or merited. And I also don't feel like, that this is going to sound really mean, and it's on live broadcast, but I just don't feel like it's right to tell someone. I almost feel like it's like you're blowing smoke at them. It's like, don't, yeah. For me, it's not right. I will compliment people, especially so that they know, but I will compliment according to their talent. Like if they are talented, I will let them know that. If they don't feel that way, I will look, I don't just give compliments for no good reason. You're talented. But if someone draws a picture and it's not very good, but it's better than it was yesterday, I'll say, wow, you're really improving. But I'm not gonna be like, that was great, because it's not great. It's not great yet, but you don't get to greatness by having people poo-poo you. It just doesn't happen.
That's true.
Yeah. And I'm totally on board with that. I think compliments, a lot of times, if it doesn't come from a place of sincerity, and I think a lot of times it doesn't. And let me explain that. People don't like silences. They don't like, I mean, they love affirmations. And most of the time we try to give ourselves the affirmations because a lot of times, maybe if we're dealing with imposter syndrome, we don't believe what they're saying to us anyway, whether it's a compliment or not. So it's just like, well, who is this person? And why does what they're saying to me, are they blowing smoke up my butt, and all that stuff. So I personally, I don't think I give a lot of compliments either. I'm kind of in Luke's corner where if I see improvement from what they did yesterday, I will acknowledge that. But otherwise, I feel like I'm blowing smoke, and I don't like to do that. Now, if somebody says, asks for my opinion, most of my friends know that if they ask me, I'm going to give it to them straight. Most of the people who don't, I have to kind of put in a little disclaimer like, do you want me to tell you the truth or do you want me to lie? And when I say that, then they kind of slink away because they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I kind of, when I build my tribe of people that I trust, whether they're peers or people that I strive to be at their level, we tend to speak plainly with each other. So there isn't a lot of compliments, but again, it's putting on that reviewer's hat, like how I would review a product or a book. If it's not up to my standards, I'll say it gently, but I'll also add in something nice. And that's just so that it doesn't, break their heart or whatever, if in fact it does. And a lot of times, the creative people, we are very sensitive anyway. So there is that.
That's true. Karl, did you have something to add?
One of the persons that I have researched on imposter phenomenon said that they thought that part of this was as a response to all the little everyone gets a trophy sort of thing. And many compliments is almost like giving everyone a participation trophy. Oh, you showed up. Good for you. So the compliment would have to be sincere, and it has to be something that you feel confident to say. I mean, like if you are suffering right now from the imposter phenomenon, you might not feel that you are worthy to even give a compliment to somebody. And so that might be a problem for you.
Oh, well said. Well said. Next question from Cindy Cap. Is imposter syndrome different from a lack of confidence? What do you three think?
I'd say definitely.
I think.
Go ahead, Meredith.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that there is definitely a lack of confidence, but again, it goes with when I'm feeling fearful or something, I usually do have an imposter personality. It's my alter ego, if you will, who is braver than I am. And that's just to get through that situation, maybe. And that helps build the confidence, whether it's true or false. But I think that it's mostly in our head. It's mostly the negative stuff that we tell ourselves.
Yeah, I think that the two can kind of go hand in hand a little bit. I do think that there's a little bit of lack of confidence in there, but I mean, a lack of confidence can be adjusted usually, and over the time you can gain that confidence. I think for the most part, those that suffer from imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon, as really I kind of like to call it that, they have confidence. They are confident that they don't belong as part of the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. Very cool. Very cool. And a few of the compliments here. Luke Stone, yes, you are blessed, but you definitely are no imposter. Real imposters feel totally different. From Nick Tockert there.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. And AR Ford, I'm not sure if I'm showing up. Yes, you are, but we're trying to get through these amazing questions you guys and gals are coming up with. So, and let's see, Aaron Casey is wondering something. Yes, dear.
I think we stomped on Karl's answer to that too, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we, Karl? I apologize.
Oh, I was just going to kind of say a combination of what they said was that lack of confidence can happen at any time. And it's because you don't feel safe in that situation. Like if I were to have to cross a rope bridge, I would not feel very confident that I'm going to make it to the other side, but I might not feel like an imposter.
Mm-hmm.
So imposter phenomena goes beyond that lack of confidence, in where you don't only feel like you're not safe, but you feel like you're not needed and you're not wanted in that area.
That's true.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, no, that was very good. Thank you for pointing it out, Meredith, and thank you, Karl, for adding that. That helped a lot. And Ted Davies Artistry says humility is a gift and imposter syndrome is a byproduct of having a conscience, I think, is what he's trying to say there. So I think that's a valid point. Rick Bradley says, even though people that have read The Marble say they love it, and Jen loved it, that's the editor of that volume, enough to put it in the Nightmare Collective, I still have a nagging feeling that my story was just lucky to get picked. It wasn't because it was good, it was just a story to take up space. Being in that book myself, I will say that is you've got it as bad as the rest of us, Rick. And knowing that, I think right now is going to help you at the beginning of what will probably be an illustrious career. So I'm not saying get used to it, but just know that you aren't alone. All right. And next comment from Phil Locklear. I honestly struggle with this fairly often with my particular line of work within the industry. And I'm interested, what kind of industry is it? And let's get to, we are way behind, but we are getting so many great questions here. And Eric Hawkins, the star of the highly acclaimed Zombieful World of Oz, says, Luke, I've seen your work. Go top dollar for page rate, then let Brian talk you down. That's the plan, Eric. That is the plan. And Dave Woodrum says, I really need to watch this one tonight because I still live with this. I think the fact that practically no one in my community even knows or understands or care what I do compounds it. I don't know. I think in my community, at least, of which I'm grateful you three are a part, that I think we are sometimes, if anything, hyper aware of it showing up in others. And, if they don't care, I think that's a bad thing. Understanding, I think, takes time. But not knowing, I don't know. Do you have like a radar? You three have a radar that goes off in the presence of imposters phenomena?
Well, I'm wondering, is Dave saying no one in his community knows or cares what he's doing? Because that happens a lot with us. We're writers or we're artists, and we don't know any other writers or artists living next door or whatever. So it's these online communities now. Thank goodness we have these. But in the past, there wasn't anything like that. And you'd show it to somebody and they go, like Meredith was saying one time, her friend says, "Oh, that's nice." What's that mean?
Yeah.
They have no basis to judge, is that good or not? And so then you feel like, oh, wow, I must be an imposter because they didn't really gush or anything like that. They didn't say, oh, wow, this reminds me of something that Hemingway would have written, So, when you're out there in your own little community, sometimes you feel lost and you really feel like I am the imposter.
Yeah. That's very true.
I'll say this to Dave. It's not that the community, like even if you're like community of creators online and stuff like that, that they don't care or don't understand. A lot of times people get so busy trying to create themselves that they kind of go down that rabbit hole, and I'm an ADHD. I have ADHD, so I have that kind of personality. You might see me like go offline for a while and like, hey, where's Luke? I haven't seen anything posted from him because, man, I've just been like spend like 4 days just nothing but drawing, or writing or something like that. And so sometimes those communities can get that way, and it's hard sometimes when other people are like they're looking at their own work and they're trying to be objective to it, and to not be able to really kind of see around. But I think some of us really kind of look, like, I know I try to look around. If I see someone's that maybe doesn't realize what they have, I try to really encourage them in what they've got. I say, look, you really do have something here. Or even if they're like close to it, I try to encourage them. That's why I don't give like empty compliments, because I want the compliments I give to matter, because I also want to give them feedback that can help them grow to the next level.
Yeah.
We all just want to level up, and so that's really the thing,
Yeah.
Right.
And I do want to speak to Dave directly. Most of my family has no idea where the hell I came from. I am like the alien child with all of this creativity. So I never really felt like I had the support or the encouragement from them, because they didn't know what to do with me, first of all. So it wasn't until I was older where I realized, you don't have a choice in the family that you were born into, but you do have a choice in the people you surround yourself with. And building that trust is very, very important. So whether it's that bloodline or whether it's your next door neighbor, if they can't support you, find new people.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And everyone who is on here, first of all, thank you to everyone who is saying hello to us. But due to the great number of questions, we're going to barrel through as many as we can during our show tonight. But we acknowledge you, we see you, and thank you. We love you. And like Meredith said, I think you found your tribe right here. Okay. Nick Tucker says imposter syndrome kills more creatives than anything. They stop creating. It is the type of death of the spirit. It is tragic. Yeah, it can be if people allow it to seize control of their creativity. Now, fortunately, I have the hashtag fueled by spite. So I have negative feelings and deep-seated hatred for all who have mocked me in my life that motivates me through life. But not everyone is that fortunate to feel this inner fury. So, I can't speak for everyone here, but that's what gets me through. So anyway, Kitsune Windsor, hi guys, hi to you. Aaron Casey says, fortunately, you're online with folks who get it and do care. You're not alone in this, Aaron. Neither are you, sweetheart. Neither are you. And Rick Bradley says, yes, Dave, I love what you do, and I'll be working with you more, definitely. Cool. Now, Woodrum says, thanks. My family is supportive enough, but they are not in the gaming hobby, not even my wife. So I really don't bother to tell them what I do most of the time, release, etc. I've decided that when I'm near the end of my life, if I still have the mental capacity to do it, I'm probably going to will off the majority of the home office to some random individual on the street.
Good for you.
At least you've got a plan. All right, many people don't. So, Amy Hale, who is a darling, says, I'm still afraid someone is going to come up to me one day and say, you suck and you've just gotten lucky. Of course, what is it what they used to say, that luck is opportunity meeting preparedness? So, I got lucky because I trained.
Yeah.
She nailed it right there.
Yeah.
The whole feeling.
Honestly, I think if you are getting trolled, you probably made it to some degree. Because they wouldn't be hating on you if they thought less of you, quite honestly.
It's true, Karl.
And Meredith brings me to my next major point I was going to make, is to feel the imposter syndrome, okay, or the imposter phenomena. You have to have achieved a bit of success. Okay, people who are failures don't say, "Oh, I'm such a fake failure." No, you have to be a success. You have reached a success in your life, okay? And you're unable to say, "Wow, a success, good for me. I can't internalize this. What do I do? Oh, I must be a fake." But to have felt this, you have to have succeeded. And that is part of the strategy in getting over this, is counting on those successes, looking at them. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you very much, Meredith. Yeah, seriously.
You gotta be there to be shot down. And if you're climbing, just keep climbing.
I really do think that Meredith is right. You've got to be like, I think a mark of success is that someone's trolled you, which means I haven't got there yet.
Oh, don't
Oh,
start it.
no, wait. No, wait. I've been
I'll
trolled
troll you,
twice
Luke.
already. I've been
Oh, there
trolled
you
twice in
go.
the last 2
All
months.
right.
So yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
there you
I
go.
would volunteer if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, don't say something like that in this room.
Yeah, remember my audience, Luke. Remember my audience, and send all of your trolling messages to Luke Stone at.
It would just make my day. I mean, it would be like, I really have truly made it.
I can loan you one of my death threats if you're feeling down, Luke. Just let me know. That's how you really know.
But Luke, you're also a minister. I mean, we would go straight to hell.
He's not denying it. That makes me nervous. And so Dave Woodrum said, "This is weird. Watching Karl sober, I'm not sure what to make of it. This is the other side of Karl." Oh, there he goes. Yeah, he's working on it, Phil, or Dave, rather. Give him time. Just give him time. No, I was looking at Rick Bradley. And yes, Luke, we are best half friends forever. Isn't that sweet? Only on this show. I love it. And let's see. We got people saying hello. Hello, Phil Thompson, Deanne, and all. And let's see. Oh, here we go. Joining in, Russell Allen is starting going to be a therapist now, saying, Amy Hill, but then you have to say, I hope you get lucky because you suck too. So anyway, thank you for that, Russell. And Kitsune says, nice poster, Rick. And Douglas Stack is coming in late. What's imposter syndrome? Well, in short, it's feeling you were unworthy despite your accomplishments. I think, and Karl just dressed up for the second hour of this show, putting on his thinking cap there. Or, it looks awful familiar. It's pretty damn sexy if you ask me, but I'm prejudiced about these things. Going now to Paul Roof. Question, have any of you been told that you are good and keep creating, but you heard you suck and you need to quit creating because sometimes this is what I hear and it gets me depressed. So I'm thinking, have you been told that you're good and then somebody turns around and tells you just the opposite? And how does it make you feel? How do you react to it?
Yeah, it's happened to me.
Or honestly, it could be somebody who says, they're being two-faced about it. They say you're good to your face, and then they shit talk you on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, art
find
is
a friend.
Yeah, I was going to say art is subjective. So, I mean, one person that thinks that you're good and that really gets into your stuff, somebody else might not, and especially, when you do something like, if you're an artist or something like that, you're drawing books, writing, people, I feel like some people don't know if a story is good or not. I think they might read it. It's like, well, that doesn't remind me of anything I've read before, so I don't know if that's good. But art, like people will, especially with comic books, they will just attack a book based on its art solely without even reading it. And they're like, that sucks, or this is terrible, or, and they'll just go at it. But then somebody else will be like, wow, this is really nice. And so you never know who to trust in those situations. But the thing is, so it's like, so basically what I do is I just, I find a corner away from everybody. I cry for a little bit. And then I put on my big boy shorts and I pick up my pencil and I practice. And I'm like, I'll show them who sucks. I'll get better than them, And so my goal is to every day get a little bit better at it. And, every book I put out, every panel is better than the one before it. And every page is better than the one before it. It's like, that's the whole thing. And just take that, like, you suck statement and say, well, I'll show you who sucks, you punk, and just turn that pain into energy to pick up the pencil. This is not a real pencil, but it's a stylus for drawing digital. But pick up the pencil and just get to it, man, or get to just use that and say, you know what? Well, I'll show you, and then leave them in your dust, man. Leave them in your dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't quit creating because some asshat said that you were terrible. I mean, really, you have to have the determination to continue on with your craft. And I always say this too, you can be everybody can be a creator. Everybody can draw, everybody can sing, everybody can write and do those creative things. Whether or not they do it well is subjective. So as long as you are happy with the level of accomplishment that you are at and you're striving to be better, it doesn't matter what they say. If you give them too much real estate, you will quit. And then you go into the realm of regret.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I just got trolled by Phil Lockler, so thank you, buddy.
All right.
You're a true humanitarian, Phil.
He sent me a gif of a troll, and he goes, "Trolled you," and I'm like, "Yes, I've made it."
Ask and you shall receive.
That's right. I told you, be careful what you ask for with this crowd. They're vicious.
Just saying, you can't let those people push your buttons, okay?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I learned in psychology was rational emotive therapy, and I use that a lot. People think A, B, and C, and they think somebody said something bad about me. They say I suck, then I suck, and I feel bad about that. But they don't look at the belief in the middle, and that is that person's opinion is worthwhile to me, okay? And it may not be worthwhile to you. You have to say, is that person's opinion worthwhile? If maybe you look up to Brian and Brian says you suck, okay, maybe you suck. But, if some guy on the street says, your comic book or your novel really sucks, you've got to say, well, maybe it wasn't meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to let it stop me from doing the next project that I'm going to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It really comes down to the value of the opinion that's given to you. Do you value that person? Yeah. So if someone that you really look up to says you suck, then use it. If it's somebody that you don't like and you're better, I really, here's what I hate. I hate it when the people that I know that I'm better than them, they come and they try to tell me I suck. I'm like, well, if I suck, what's that mean about you?
They're tearing yeah. They're trying to tear you down instead of building themselves up.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all part of that zero-sum thing that if you get one erg of happiness, they think you're taking it from them. So, which I only wish in their case it were true. Anyway, Aaron Casey says, I just wanted to say to you that there will always be haters. There will always be people who feel better about themselves when they kick others down. Cling to the good comments and to the people who show you respect. If someone offers you constructive, kind criticism, that's one thing. If someone blatantly just goes, you suck, troll, they're just being jerks. Amen, sweetheart. Amen, Aaron Casey. I agree with you 100%. Wendy Gale says, I completely understand. Yeah, truth. Point the right way, Brian. Truth. Anyway, I understand completely, Meredith. I've had my first script finished for over a year. I have edited it at least 4 times. I'm finally doing the final edit, hopefully, says Wendy Gale. Well, we want to see that script brought to life someday soon. All right. And
you know what? And I'm going to say really quickly, cut that umbilical cord. If you feel like you can't edit it anymore without actually killing it, let it go. And then, because you're not going to know what the public thinks about it unless the public sees it. And then from there, you can tweak it later. And
I will tell you this. I've done some character design for Wendy and some stuff. And by the way, I actually need to finish that. Thanks for reminding me, Wendy. But I've seen some of her concept stuff, and it's good. It's good. So don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. You've got something good there, especially if your husband says it's good. He has a good sense for that stuff too. So yeah, it's good, Wendy. Keep going.
There we go. And you're welcome, Douglas Stack. We're glad to be of help here. And Rick Bradley, do you have a mantra or something you tell yourself to try to overcome your imposter syndrome? Like you own, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. So do you have what magic words get you out of this? I know mine. Mine are Amazon sent you money. That usually works with me. So it's like, I'm a bad author, huh? We'll tell that to people in 6 different countries. Anyway.
A mantra will help you tremendously if you are feeling down and you need something to say to yourself, but make sure it's something true and something that's achievable. Don't say, I am the greatest author in the world, because you know that may not be correct. And so, you're setting yourself up for a failure there. Pick something that's reasonable,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And
That's true.
I like a theme song. Someone suggested one time you have a theme song, and when something bad happens, you hear that theme song. So when I get criticized, and I think unduly, I picture Wipeout by the Safaris, and I picture that person, the person that criticized me, is surfing, and a big wave comes and just wipes them out.
Proving once again, don't screw with authors. I'm telling you, it's not good.
Yeah, we will kill you.
Yeah, you'll end up in a book as a cross-dresser, probably.
Mm-hmm.
We will eviscerate you in fiction. That's what we will do.
And we have.
So I'll take a stab at that one. I don't really have a mantra, but what I do is I think, I might be an imposter today. Like I might not really belong in the room at the moment, but I'm going to, if they think that I do, then I'm going to try my best to work up to that level to at least not make them a liar. So I'm just like, so I might suck today, but I'm going to, today's almost over. It's like, what's that Michael Scott line? Diversity tomorrow, because today is almost over. I'm gonna take it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be better, because today is it's what it is, and just try to be try to trudge forward. Try to be better tomorrow than I am today.
There you go.
Yeah.
Meredith, do you have one?
I don't really have a mantra. I mean, there have been times where I needed one to get through the day or the hour sometimes. Right now, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot, but when I feel low, I basically repeat thank you. And it doesn't matter how terrible I feel. I just say thank you and reject everything else, because by saying that over and over until I actually do feel better is acknowledging the blessings that I might not see or feel at that moment. So, I mean, it's really that simple. I'm at that place right now where I can just repeat that over and over, and hopefully it gets me over the hump, and I would say it almost always does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and mine, I'm with you. I'm not as bad at this as I used to be, critically speaking, because my mistakes are in public, so I can go back and check them out. But as far as music goes, Karl brought up music. I had two songs that would usually bring me out of it. One was "We Are the Champions" by Queen. If you can sing that with conviction, you can get through anything. And the other one is when I'm in a more sardonic mood, there's a song by the Knack, of My Sharona, called "Another Lousy Day in Paradise." And I can do that chorus in my head and I can get through it. So anyway, Teresa Dunn says, I've always told myself you matter, and kick the haters to the curb. Exactly right. You don't need them weighing it down. You're so right, Teresa. And Wendy Gale says yes.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's really hard to sing "We Are the Champions" through tears. I've tried it. It's very hard.
And I have done it through tears, and it helped. It's one of those you just keep singing it till they go away. So,
Yes.
and then Wendy Gale says, "You are good enough, Luke." No, Luke needs to be told he sucks. He's looking for trolls tonight, so please keep that in mind. Anyway, and Luke's going, "Don't help me, Brian." Phil Locklear says, "This is exactly how I feel being on panels with y'all. I don't bring that much to the conversation and feel like I am taking up a seat that should go to someone else." Well, my thought is, if you were really that, why did you get asked?
Exactly.
I would say never feel that way, but you're going to feel that way. Just never let it linger in your brain for too long.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just accept the seat and go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an example of this, Brian, this syndrome or this phenomenon was never studied back when I was studying psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of brush up on this before I came on. And one of the things I thought was, wow, I feel imposter phenomenon now, because now I'm going to talk about stuff that I've not really learned before. But Phil, I found that you have to look at those competencies. What are you competent at doing? And say, one of the things that I am really competent at is looking at all these YouTube videos and all these Wikipedia articles and everything, and going through the bunk, okay? Because there was a lot of stuff I saw that I would go, oh, that's bad advice. Who would tell somebody that? And my competency was going through there and saying, here's something that might help. Here's something that might explain something. And pulling that in there, I thought, oh, yes, I am competent enough to be on the panel.
Yeah. And I'm competent at choosing terrific people to be on my panel. That is my superpower.
Yes, you are, bro.
Yes. And Luke is proud of his humility. So let's move on. Amy Hale says, I'm absolutely a mix of 2 or 3 of those types. I think it's like those personality tests with, the 4 humors and all. I think we're a little bit of other things. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm about to hit, trying to catch up with the comments, and we may not make it all the way through. So we are going to cut this off at 2 hours. And I want to thank my panel all for your patience too. But I think we're getting some incredible feedback from our friends here. And now I'm about to show a little of the syndrome myself. To Brian, I'm surprised that you've been able to keep going with the amount of extra COVID-19 shows that you were doing. You really went above and beyond with it. Well, thank you very much, Dave. I do appreciate that. And there's also a thing knowing when to go out when you're on top. So thank you, Meredith, and thank you all. But it's one of those things where I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I could show myself I did it, but I didn't do it alone. I have my 3 friends here. I have all of you to thank, because otherwise I'd have just been talking to myself. And I've been doing that long enough, and I couldn't get anyone to sponsor my show. So anyway, moving on, TL Shively says, I can relate to much that is said, but am lucky to have the support I do with as much self-doubt as I have. If I didn't have the support, there is a good chance I would have failed already. And I think I speak for all of us. We all have our very, very local support systems, don't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Cookie is mine. I will say that. What about you 3?
Well, I think mine made a comment in here. Just ignore her. I didn't know if you'd have hecklers, so I brought one with me.
We love you, Donna. Meredith, who's your order to Luke? Luke,
go
yes.
ahead. Meredith first.
My husband is my most ardent supporter. He is unconditional love. He supports me with all of my creative endeavors, and I'm really grateful for that. But then, it's my online family, because I work from home, and it's really hard for me to get out, and I don't socialize all that well. So this is it, this interaction that I do, and reaching out on social media and stuff like that. But immediately, the one who brings me whiskey laced coffee, that's my husband. He's my rock.
Very cool. Luke, what about you?
It's my Bethy, my Beth, and my kids, my daughter Corey, my son Gavin. Then I got a few people that are online that do that. I'll be really honest with you, kind of like the indie devil. Rob Anderson, man, he is such an encourager. I'll just get a random phone call from him. He's like, man, how you doing? Doing all right? I saw you had a rough day yesterday. How's it going? And just constantly, yeah. So yeah, you've got to have those people. But yeah, definitely my core is my family. They encourage me every step of the way. They also let me know when I'm off mark. They're like, yeah, it's not right. Yeah. Rein it in, Dad.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. I just feel every now and then it's important to acknowledge the people who keep us going and keep us on the path. If I were to, and actually you mentioned, your online family, my show family, my online family, I could do 4 hours alone just saying thank you to everyone who keeps me humble and keeps me going. So, and hey guys, says author Michaela Jade and Cindy Cap, do you think introverts are more prone to imposter syndrome? That's an excellent question.
I get that, but I don't think so personally, because I know some introverts that are just introverted, but they're an introverted jerk. Like they are super arrogant. Yeah, they don't like to talk in front of people, but it really works to their arrogance too. They just don't want to be around people because people suck and they're better than them. So it does. But I think that, it really, there's something more than an introvert versus an extrovert there.
I would
Probably
agree.
so. Okay, well, I think we have a consensus here. I see Meredith nodding. And now we have a heckler. Donna Carlene says, wait a minute, Carl, I have low esteem because I think I'm a good writer and deserve to be read. And of course, Carl, not you, silly. There we go. And that's some deep stuff there, says Amy Hill. That's what this show is about. We occasionally get deep here, but in the good way occasionally.
I was going to say, deep into what? We're not sure yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want the other kind of deep that makes you roll up your pants legs because you can't save the shoes. That's never mind the furthermore. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. on YouTube. And Carlene mixes us with her laughter.
That's a record, Brian.
Say what?
That's a record. How long have we been going before you did a plug? Very good.
That's true. I wanted you three to have the spotlight tonight, so I didn't do anything. I had to do a plug since Michaela was here. She demands it. And listening while cleaning up the kitchen, we are the choice for housework. When you have housework to do, please put on Clever Title Pending in the background, and it will be like zippity doo dah, zippity day done. And Michaela J says, I struggled with accepting the fact that I'm a really good writer. Everyone so far has said I'm good and getting better. It's just hard to believe because I know where I come from. Sometimes I think I sound arrogant when I'm trying to just be excited. I think I know it's true of me that like we were talking about earlier, that the thin line between my being P.T. Barnum and Stan Lee and being an overwhelming jerk, so it can be a thin line. Do you have anything to add to that? Can you three relate or have something to add?
I think you can be excited without being overbearing, as long as you know that there's a difference. How they perceive you is not in your control.
Mm-hmm.
Allow yourself to be excited, and also know when to rein it in. So yeah. All right. And Lou Motion Slade said, what's imposter syndrome? Well, as we've decided, it's feeling unworthy. When you get praise, when you're, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a creative person. We've learned, that they can be anyone who doesn't feel they're worthy of getting the accolades they get. So I know both Brian and Charles F. Millhouse, says Rick Bradley, have me writing stories for their books. I feel like the little kid holding one little story, standing next to two giants holding many books. My syndrome's kicking in. My imposter syndrome kicks into overdrive. I have to remind myself that they see something or they wouldn't let me. And yep. We all feel that way.
Yeah, seriously, you're singing to the choir here. Author Michaela Jade says, I was told once it's not arrogance if you can back it up. True.
I will say this: you'll see a lot of these creators out there, artists or writers, that you're allowed to be arrogant if you can back it up, I guess. So it's like, but I've seen people, their arrogance is here and their talent is here, and it's like, you're not allowed to be that arrogant. But then there's others like their talent is here, so their arrogance is there, and it's like, I don't really like them because of their arrogance, but they're good, so I deal with it.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like Neil Adams or John Byrne, two very popular comic artists. They do conventions, or Byrne doesn't do so many anymore. And people say, boy, what an arrogant jerk. Well, you know what? If you'd accomplished even a tenth of what those two had, you'd be entitled to be a little bit of a jerk too. So
I was actually thinking of Neil Adams.
Yeah. Yeah, and he has a right because he's been doing this since like the '60s, and he's done everything. So yeah, if he wants to thump his chest a little, I'd say go for it. And yes, I have not forgotten Mr. Witsman here. So yes,
Yeah, I want to draw a line between pride and arrogance. Okay.
good. Yes.
I mean, Michaela, you can be proud of what you've done and be very happy about it. Arrogance is that person that does not feel that happy about it and has to make everybody else miserable too. And I don't think you want to make people miserable. So I don't think you're arrogant at all. So
Yeah.
We agree.
100%.
Yeah. And also my people take care of each other. Russell Allen says, Phil Locklear, you may feel like a seat warmer, but you know how to stir the creative pot when the current topic has gone cold, to which Phil says, appreciate it, buddy. There we go. Russell Allen then goes on to say, my biggest imposter syndrome is taking compliments. I always feel that my creativity is garbage and people tell me it's good, so they don't hurt my feelings, even though deep down I know they mean it. Have you had trouble in the past, any time in the past, accepting compliments? Again, it's kind of like a second cousin to the syndrome or phenomena, what we want to call it. And I'll raise my hand. It took me years to be able to accept compliments, and I will say it was because of theater. It's like applause.
I do not like compliments. I don't like compliments, and I don't know why, except that, again, if there's not a critique from somebody that I might look up to, it's hard for me to accept that it's anything but blowing smoke. So for me, it's really difficult to do that. I would rather get constructive criticism than a compliment. Or don't say anything at all, because at the end of the day, in my head, I'm doing my job.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. Okay, and then I shot, of course, way past all the great questions here because it keeps doing it. I think it's me, but it adds, to the line here, Meredith, and like I give the wheel a little bit of push, and the next thing goes like that. So.
Yep.
It jumps. Okay, that's technical terms. So when you do StreamYard, you can now sound like an expert. Michaela Jade says, yes, the better than yesterday is a thing we do in our house. We strive to do better than we did yesterday with all things: diet, lifestyle, work, personal goals, etc. Very good. Very good. And Phil Locklear says, love the creativity and look forward to seeing you in the groups and just to chat. You are a good man with your heart in the right place. Definite respect. And I like it. And, of course, summoning the demon himself, and up he pops. What up, Chuck Bino? How you doing? And couldn't resist that. Phil Locklear says, the industry being comics and my work being a host for interviews, even though I do not have the foothold most do in here, just my demons, pun intended, that I deal with. Well, we all have our demons that we've got to wrestle and make our... fly in formation, and of course we're going to talk to the expert on demons now.
No, okay, here's the deal. Okay, so let's read that. The industry being comics and my work being a host for interviews, I don't have the foothold. That is garbage, dude. Like, for weeks I was like, why is Phil not letting me on? He's not asking me to be on his show. I was like, I wanted to be on Phil's show. Phil didn't think he had a foothold, and I'm like, I want to get on Phil's show. He's talking about foothold we got. Forget that. I was like, Phil's got an audience. He reads comic books. He does great reviews. He knows what he's talking about in this stuff. I want him to read my book, tell me what he thinks, and let's talk about it. It's like, no, Phil, you've got, dude, Phil.
Meredith?
Yeah, I have been with Geek Insider. I've been doing these interviews with some of these movie makers, they're filmmakers, actors, and things like that, musicians, now comic books and things like that. I don't know crap about these people, but you know what it does is it makes me do the research on them, and I'm not coming at them like a fangirl and just going all googly-eyed and I'm so thankful that you're in my seat. I'm like, I don't know shit about you, talk to me. And I honestly think, seriously, I honestly think that makes me a better interviewer. So I'm like perfectly happy to be ignorant in that, but I will do the work with my guests.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Karl, do you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't know Phil, but he sounds like a competent person.
Well, there we go. And I mean, Luke brought up a good point. If you asked the four of us to be on your show, I mean, come on, really, right? Let's gang up on Phil. Seriously, Phil, you do a great job. And, the thing is, we all go through that. So, anyway, I'll get you my schedule, Phil, and you can ask us all separately. Anyway, Dave Woodrum says local community. Well, with the internet, your local community can be on the other side of the planet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Chuck Minot says imposter syndrome is so tough. I feel like it can be compounded as an editor because if your writing doesn't make the grade, people might worry about your capacity as an editor too. That's a very good point. Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. That is brilliant. Molly Daniel says, maybe you covered this, but my take on it is a feeling of unworthiness to be in the presence of one's professional idols. I would agree with that to one degree, and that's why I think it's very good not to compare yourself to others. Why am I not, like what was brought up earlier in the show, why am I not at that level? Usually because you haven't worked as hard or earned it. But I feel that way around some of my peers at times, that I see all the amazing things they do, and I'm like, man, I gotta step up my game here if I want to keep, be worthy of a place at the table. So, what's your take on it, friends?
One person that I came across in research said that you shouldn't really look ahead of you in line. Mm-hmm. You should look at the person directly behind you. Look at the person that hasn't achieved what you have, because you have something that can help that person. This is really rising tide. But, you help that person that's behind you get to your level. You have a buddy now, okay? And you can feel, oh, okay, I have a competence that I help them, and they're up to my level now. Don't worry so much about the people that are 3 levels beyond you, because you'll always feel that. It's kind of like, I don't want to sound bad to those YouTubers on here, okay? But people go, oh, I've got 20. Well, I've got 50. Well, that guy's got 300, and that guy has 1.2 million followers. So what? When is it enough? It's kind of like having enough money. Once you get a certain amount of money, you have more than enough. You don't need any more. And really, followers are like that. Books are like that. I mean, Isaac Asimov wrote so many books, and we will probably never write as many as Isaac wrote. But that doesn't mean that we're worthless and we suck.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I would add that I think every person, that no matter where they are professionally, when they're in the presence of their idols who have achieved, accomplished more than them, they're going to feel unworthy in that situation. I think the imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon is really when you have achieved as much as someone that really is your equal, but you don't feel like you are an equal to them. You feel down here.
Yeah,
that's tough. When you start looking around. I'll use Chuck since he was on there. I'm going to pick on Chuck for a second. Chuck, I hired Chuck as an editor because I'm like, this guy he's up here, and I want to take my work up there, because that's what you want to do, and you want to do that. So once you kind of get to that, when you start looking around and you're like, I don't belong here, that's really kind of that's the imposter syndrome. That's the imposter phenomenon. When you're like, I just got lucky. Somebody just needed a job, or they needed some money, and they helped me out. They threw me a bone. People bought my book. Wait till they read it; they won't buy the next one. When you start kind of getting into that, it's that's really where that imposter syndrome is. But I think everybody feels a little unworthy when they get in the presence. I feel like Wayne and Garth when I meet. When I meet Alice Cooper, we're unworthy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For me, I don't really have idols. necessarily. I haven't fangirled. I don't understand the whole screaming, with the Beatles and all that stuff. I don't get that. And I think part of the reason behind that is, kind of to quote my husband, because he's always teasing me. He goes, "But did you fat? Like, did you fart?" If they all fart in my head, it's just this game I play in my head that humanizes them and makes them imperfect. It's like we all fart, and it's funny, and it's stinky, and it is what it is, and we do what we have to do. So I kind of humanize them in a way that kind of makes me laugh and go, okay, you know what? Maybe this guy isn't such a big deal, because you know what? He farts, just like me.
Exactly, Mary. Part of this thing, people kind of like that dream where you see yourself naked in class or something. When you have the imposter syndrome hitting you, you feel like, oh, look at me, I'm naked. And this guy, angels and birds bring his clothes to him and put them on him, like a Cinderella type of story, and you don't know that person, does all these things that you have to do every day. They have to put on their pants. They have to eat. They have to fart.
They have to poop.
That's right.
I really do like the. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Luke.
I was just going to say, I really do like the fart analogy, but some of us do fart better than others. I mean, it's not a competition, I guess. There is upper tier farters and.
Yeah, the only difference between me and Prince William is he farts through silk. That's the only thing,
There you go.
I've conquered my syndrome. Amy Shaky Cordy, you're never late, sir. You're worth waiting for. And thanks for the book, Luke.
Yay! He's got the hybrid.
Huzzah!
All right.
Yeah, good news. Amy Hale asks, how would you respond to someone who constantly compares their work to the great? Example, my work is every bit as good as Hemingway. I have a friend that does this and I never know how to respond. I usually respond with sarcasm. But anyway, I'm sure that my friends here have a much kinder way to do it than I do.
Here's what I'll say. If you have to tell me your work is as good as Hemingway, it's not as good as Hemingway.
Right.
Because your fans will tell me your work is as good as Hemingway.
Yeah.
That's the end of the conversation for me. Go for it, guys.
Oh, I would
Full
say
stop.
I would say my wife doesn't like Hemingway at all.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I don't care for him that much either. So,
you poor man.
He's a terrible tipper. He was a terrible tipper. You guys have no idea. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to apologize. He's a terrible tipper.
He won't apologize.
You just aim right at that balloon, that they've hit up there, and go.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew. Watch it go down like Hindenburg. And Rob Roy says, totally relate to what Meredith just shared. Well, thank you very much. And let's see here. Here we go. A great quote from Cindy Kemp. I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it, says Thomas Jefferson. True dat. True dat.
I think it was you that said this a few weeks ago on one of your shows. It takes years to become an overnight success.
Exactly. I'm still working at it too. I just hope it comes while I'm still alive. And Charles F. Millhouse says, I agree with Meredith. I grew up in a family who never understood why I wanted to be a writer-creator. My parents told me after my first book was published to, quote, not let it go to your head, unquote. Man, it burst my bubble. Yeah, it's harsh. It still does, to the point with every success I have to ask myself, am I worthy of the praise I receive? Yeah. I mean, I'm full confession here. I remember one time when I was very, very young, my formative years, I was collecting these sets of trading cards. And I finally, through thrift and trading with my friends, I got a complete set. And I said, Dad, I know you're thrifty and everything, but I got this. I didn't spend a whole lot of money on it. Aren't you proud of me? And he just looked at me and said, why should I be proud of you? you know,
Mm.
and that sort of thing. You know, I'm
Family can really,
yeah.
family can really suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
That
they're
sets
not
the
the
pace
ones.
in a
They're
book.
not the ones to get it. Yeah, I was going to say they're not the ones to get compliments from because, especially parents. And I want to say this: it's because they've seen you naked and they've changed your shitty diapers. Okay, so whatever it is that you're doing in your parents' eyes, you probably. I mean, it's really hard to break out of the child-parent dynamic and become a peer. So when it comes to your parents, kind of just understand that they probably haven't cut the umbilical cord for you, and take it with a grain of salt. And
yeah,
seriously, they changed your diapers. They're not going to see you as a published success.
yeah. I will say my mother was very encouraging, but my father was the polar opposite. So, but that's just me. So
I was very fortunate. Both parents were very encouraging. In fact, probably if my mom was still alive, she was like, "Why aren't you famous yet?" That's probably what she would be. That would be Bertha.
I
That
want
would be
your
her.
mom.
yeah, my mom would be a
Your
stage mom. She'd be like, hey, everybody, come over here and buy a copy of Sandestein. That's how my mom would have been. Andy Shaking Cordy continues, Aaron, that is my family as well. I just took on a position as an editor on top of all that I already do. My mom doesn't understand what I'm even supposed to do, even after I bullet pointed it for her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that internet meme, that it says, what my wife thinks I do, what my father thinks I do, what I really do.
Yeah.
They don't understand. And, they want you to get that real job.
Yeah. If anybody doesn't think that any of me or any of us here don't have a real job creatively, my schedule would kill most people. They'd put them on life support. I don't have just one job. We all have several because we're promoters, we're writers, we're editors, we're artists. Whatever we got to do, right?
And if you have worked for like a corporation or something, that's probably part of what is to blame for your imposter phenomenon. Because it does not behoove the company to give you compliments and praise and raises. It behooves them to criticize you, put you down, and that way you will work harder and you will work longer and you will work more hours because they get more out of you by putting you down. And
that's true.
That is a problem for a lot of people who have worked in the actual real job, and then they try to do something creative, and it's like, oh well, I don't have anybody now to tell me if I'm good or not. It's very difficult to find those people that are qualified to tell you that.
That's true. That's true. And author Michaela Jade says, I've always said I've heard the word no all my life. I can deal with that. I don't know how to deal with yes. And that's part of this thing, too. And Amy Hale says, I should clarify. I'm afraid another author will say I suck to my face. I've already had readers say I suck in reviews. Does that mean I've arrived? Congratulations, Amy Hale. You crossed that finish line. Don't put up with any of that other crap. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I got to tell a story. Amy always tells that a review, I think it was of her first book, she used the word crap in it, and somebody raked her over the coals on Amazon. And Amy's reply was, that was the least offensive word I used in the whole book. So she's going to make it a marketing tool. And Rick Bradley knows that story. He says, and you shouldn't put crap in your books, Amy. Dave Woodrum says, I usually don't get much into religion, but something biblical, Luke Stone, jump in here, that I've often thought about was Luke 4:24, where Jesus points out that no prophet is accepted in their hometown. And he thinks that sounds right to me, too. I'm not the most religious of people, but I've always taken that to heart. The folks that I've grown up around deal with in person day to day, they have no clue. Ironically, I'm more connected to people into my scene online than I am these days with people. And I'm sure he means people in real life. So do you guys have that same problem, too?
Well, let me speak to the biblical side of that. Yeah. So that bit of scripture is actually talking about when Jesus was starting his 3-year ministry. He went to his hometown, and it said he was unable to do any great work or miracle outside of healing a few people, and doing a couple of miracles. He couldn't do any great thing because they didn't have faith in him. They didn't have faith in him because they just saw him as, oh, that's just Mary and Joseph's boy. And so they didn't have any faith. And so the faith that manifests in people so that you can do work, so Jesus could do a work. And so aside from that, as we start looking at that, a lot of times when people don't have faith in us, it limits what we can do. And so you do need to think that, maybe your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors, I had someone at my church, and meaning well, very well, they said, oh, well, I was telling them about like the success I've been having with hybrids. And I have some people that are at my church that are big fans of the book. They buy the book. In fact, one of the guys is actually in the book. And so I have people that are very supportive of it, know that I'm trying to monetize my art and things like that. But then I had someone go, oh, well, that's a nice hobby for you.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm like, hobby? Yeah. That kind of stuff stings a little bit, but you also have to realize just kind of, sometimes, you can't, because if someone doesn't have faith in you, or if they don't really see that what you're trying to do, you need to surround yourself with people that believe in you and that are going to encourage you, and also surround yourself with people that are where you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And that speaks to what I was saying before with that nucleus of people, like your parents are, they're the ones who change your diapers. Your best friends are probably the ones that saw you drunk, and they're going to rib you and they're going to tease you and stuff like that. And it's going to be really hard for them to take you seriously as a creator. So you almost have to find those people that are 1 degree of separation from those people. And that's where you're going to find your fan base and your supporters.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And Andy Shaggy Cordy's mantra is, screw you, I'll prove you wrong.
Yep.
There you go. I like it.
And Phil Locklear has a compliment for you there, Luke. Okay. And Bill Sarn says, I'm fortunate so far to have 2 people letting me down after requesting commissions without giving details. The first was very painful because of the way they led me along, only to back out. But the second one, I really didn't take it personal. I didn't feel they were better than me or vice versa. I just knew it wasn't meant to be. Well, sometimes that happens. That happens. And Wendy Gale, my song is Let's Get This Party Started by Pink. I think it's good for just about anything that ails you. And a song that fires Rick Radley up is Foo Fighters' Something from Nothing, an amazing song that I recommend looking into how they came up with it. And Amy Hale, of course. Amy, wash your mouth out with soap. Crap. Cut that crap out. Sorry. We don't allow that shit on here. Anyway, that's already been broken already, folks. I'm entitled. Anyway, one of the songs that Andy Shaggy Corey listens to when he's feeling down about his art is Foo Fighters' One of These Days. That is great. I'm trying to rush through these because we're going to try to cut this off at the top of the hour because my wonderful guests have been here for 2 hours. And otherwise, I think I speak for us all when I say we could probably go on all night talking about this.
We could, yeah.
We could, but I'm thinking maybe we need to have a sequel. How's that sound? Donna Carlene says, I always had the support of my family, even though they thought they found me a changeling in their blue collar world. But it was very different to find another writer to share my worlds with. And Molly Daniels says, kudos to everyone with supportive families. That is goal. And let's see here. And Bill Sarn says, I'm confident enough to know that I'm more comfortable making my stupid comments and not part of a live panel. My childhood introvert sensor will still occasionally surface at the most inconvenient times. And, part of this, like with me, it's, part of this could be deep rooted in something from childhood. And Luke calling me out about being an introverted jerk. Yeah, but you're our introverted jerk, Andy. Take comfort from that. And
that's all part of the charm.
Exactly. See, Meredith loves you. What more can you ask?
Andy has now been trolled So you made it, Andy. Great.
That's right. You are now a superstar. And Phil Locklear trolled the entire panel, so I feel better now. I think you've cured us. And here we go. Now this is the question to end this on. Okay, Rick Bradley asks us. Here's the most important question, though. If you had to give up one, would it be tacos or pizza?
Tacos.
We've one vote
I
for
would have to
tacos.
give up tacos. Tacos is gone. Pizza's it.
I don't know, man. I'm a slut for Mexican food. I love tacos.
Does it make
pizza
you
so
fat?
No. You know what? Here's the thing. I would probably keep the tacos because I'm technically diabetic. And we can get into what technically means later. But so technically I'm diabetic, and the crust causes my blood sugar to go up. So, so I would say tacos because even though there's still a lot of carbs in the shells, it's not as much carbs as the pizza.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I'm a pizza guy myself, so I could live without tacos. But don't ever try to take my burritos away from me. Those are big wrapped up slices of heaven. You know what I'm saying?
I just don't understand why Rick would make us make some kind of a choice like that, though. That's just not fair.
I know. What is wrong with Rick? I'm telling you, man. This is probably a whole show on what's wrong with Rick. And Amy Hale says arrogance is looking down your nose at others and not being proud of yourself. And Russell Allen says, you're one of us now, Meredith. Welcome to the black hole. All right.
Jazzy hands.
Yeah, that's right, jazz hands. And with that, folks, we have crossed the 2-hour line on this show, and I think it's a good time to probably call it a night. Unless you guys want to go for another 3, I'm easy.
Well, it's either quit or go all in for another 3. I mean, I don't think there's any other options, right? Like that's it. It's
probably not. We're only 15 minutes behind. Shall we try to power through real fast?
Go for it, yeah.
All right. Bill Sartin says, I will be the first to admit I'm shy about accepting compliments. I am my own worst critic, but I guess it's better to be shy than to be arrogant about it. Donna Carlene says, I'm thoroughly tickled when I get a compliment and take it as my due. I think it's because I don't give compliments unless I mean them. Here we go. Oh, Cindy Cap says, relevant and timely. A pal just informed me that his daughter wants to be a writer because of me, and a few others providing a good role model by showing the highs but the lows. Me? Really? One of us. Yes. And Amy Hill is going fully armed, not worrying about an FOID card. She's going to start carrying a lot of pebbles and a slingshot in my pocket. And she says, yeah, my mom would be the same way. My dad is always asking me when my next book is out, where I will be signing next, and how he can brag on me next. And I brag on my kids all the time, as well you should. They're wonderful children. And Molly Daniels says, my mom told me I may not be proud of what you write, but I'll always be proud of your writing ability. I'll take that as a win. Rick Bradley says, both of my parents would be proud of me being a published my mom would probably sell my books door to door if I didn't stop her, and my dad would have been like, good son, but make sure you can pay the bills. And let's see.
Sounds like a dad right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it, though? And, of course, Bill Sartin, of course, has captured the essence of the night, saying, love the show about the China syndrome. And with that, we're going to do 2 more here. Paul Ruff says, yes, Amy, you have arrived. I did a review of one of Stephen King's books and said that book sucked for me. That just means it wasn't for that person. And, of course, Rick Bradley will cap off the evening with the wish that we wish everyone. Rick Bradley says, everyone take care and stay creative. We are. I think I speak for us all on that. So, I gotta say, I went into this night not knowing what it would be like. Just like every show I do, kind of like blindfold myself and run into the minefield. But you 3 have been amazing, and I would love to have the 3 of you back some other time, and we can discuss this or some other quirk of the creative personality. And I hope you'll say yes when I do. All right. So I'm going to compliment. Oh no! Thank you all. Thank all 3 of you. Thank you everyone who gave us all these incredible comments. I am sorry I couldn't read everyone's statement. I'm sorry I couldn't say hello to everyone. But we will do this again, and just know that I did see who showed up, and we're grateful for each and every one of you that did. So I'm going to allow everyone one more shot at, so they will tell you who they are, what they do, where you can find them, and where you can write them to tell them that they suck. We'll start with Luke this time, all right? So here we go.
You can find me at lukestonestudios.com, and all my social media links are there. If you forget the .com part, just look up Luke Stone Studios, and you can find me through the Google. That's right, called the Google, right? The Google? Yeah, that's what we're calling it now, the Google. Or you can find me on the Facebook. At Luke Stone Studios. There's a little theme here. Just look up Luke Stone Studios. You can also find some of my work at starcrosscomics.com. But right now, if you did happen to miss out on this thing that everyone is telling me is great and I think is you can pick that up on Indiegogo right now by going on over there and looking up Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, the first full arc, or Hybrids 5. You can look that up there. And also by going to my Facebook, and I'll have links up there, because I am a consummate promoter of stuff, because I want to get as much of those copies sold as I can.
Karl?
This means something. You can find me here on Facebook, and I have a secret humor group. It's for people who don't get insulted or their feelings hurt too badly. You have to kind of have a thick skin to be in there. But every other Friday night, which means I think this Friday night, we do a live drunken rant. So if you want to be a part of that, I don't know why you'd want to be, but if you want to be, friend me here and send me a PM and say, please let me in that bunch of drunken guests that we have on the Drunken Rant.
Okay, that's all we're getting from him, I guess. Anyway, and Meredith.
If you guys saw Brian losing it in the green room, oh my gosh, it's so funny. I'm laughing because he is. All right. Meredith Loughran here. I am the comic noob. I am also involved with Geek Insider. I'm getting lessons from Brian. See, I've got Geek Insider. We have Wild One Forever. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of hard copied book, but you know what? I am going to promote a little bit of Brian. The Haunting Scripts of Bachelor's Grove. This is on my reading list because it's my study guide, and I've also got the Nightmare Collective, which I'm reading for fun. So MeredithLoughran.com has all of my social media links, and you can find me on Geek Insider. You can find me on Wild One Forever, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that stuff. Just Google my name. It's spelled over here. And it's really been a pleasure to sit here and take a seat with everybody on the panel. Thank you so much.
Dignity. Always dignity. Anyway, I'm Ryan K. Morris. I'm Rising Tide Pub. You see that down there. We are getting our monthly newsletter together in the next couple days. So if you go to risingtide.pub, you can sign up for that. That's our place on the interwebs. Also, Rising Tide Publications, the other hand, Brian. That's our Facebook presence, where we can have brand new material every day, sometimes more than just two. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff on Amazon and Smashwords that are worthy of your attention, and I hope you will check them out sometime. And I hope you'll also join me for Never Mind the Furthermore, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Although this week we're going to be broadcasting up till Friday, and then we'll do Sunday, and then we'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Anyway, Never Mind the Furthermore, 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central Time, plus occasionally on the OnCon Network. Also, I will be occasionally on with Meredith as she explores her newbiness in comics. And this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, I'll be on the live convention, the virtual convention from the Indie Author Book Expo. I will be talking about how I became an accidental full-time freelancer. Hope you'll join me for that, and I will welcome your questions. And right now, I would like to thank my amazing, amazing panel, Meredith Loughran, Karl Witsman, and Luke Stone. Thank you three very much. Much appreciated. And everyone that had these great questions or even just said hello, I appreciate you. Meredith is my favorite now because she's promoting my book. But anyway, hope you all have a fantastic night, and we'll see you next week. Next week's guest will be Amy Hale. We'll be here for the whole 2 hours, or maybe we'll go for a 5-hour marathon with her. She doesn't know what she's letting herself in for. But anyway, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. Amy's a very accomplished author, and maybe she will teach you how she does what she does. So anyway, this is Brian K. Morris telling everyone, please remember, stay smart, stay safe, wash your damn hands, and never apologize for being awesome. That's what this whole show's been about. Thank you for watching Clever Title Pending. We'll see you next week.